How far down that road did you get in your mind about playing Ellie in a Last of Us film?
I think it just really felt like a big deal. And what I remember, like the highlights of that time were just going to Naughty Dog, like headquarters, I guess, and walking around with Neil and him showing me how the game is made.
Tell me, did I have it wrong?
No.
Okay.
I'm starting out like such a bitch.
No, listen.
And I really remember all of those details. And he even showed me at one of I think we only really in the grand scheme of things, I think we only had 2 meetings.
Mm-hmm. We made a deal to tell this story, and we're telling this story.
And your career survived.
My career survived.
Overcome that.
And the second meeting, I really remember him showing me parts of The Last of Us 2 when it was early days of getting made, which was pretty crazy. And he told me what happens, which was also crazy. I've been sitting with this secret for so long.
Basically, Neil and you have known this for 12 years.
I'm in a very unique position because it's my second go at this story.
It's a completely different show this season.
But I was just excited to, know him and learn from him. And we did one table read, and then that's all that really happened. I mean, that's it.
Everything's fine.
You are
on set. I think I was a bit intimidated by how large the set was, and for some reason I was fighting the feeling of thinking I was going to get fired. And then the last day I felt
Were you familiar with the game?
I didn't know about the game before I got the job. And then I got the job and I found out very quickly about the game. But I called my sister, who's got 2 teenage boys. And I was on speakers when she answered. She was dropping them off at school. And she's like, what's going on? And I said, well, there's this job offer or opportunity. It's based actually on a video game. And they're like, what is it? And I was like, it's called The Last of Us! You better get that job!
Just really intense combat scenes. And carrying not only the bravery and the heroism, but also the fear of, not so much for my own personal well-being, but the fear of loss of the community and the family. And
actually, people were critical of some choices that we've made in the show.
Yeah.
And they were saying oh, I like this better in the game, and this was more subtle in the game, whatever they said.
I didn't realize how funny you were. That's
I didn't realize how funny you were.
Whoa, look at that.
Y'all are hilarious.
Oh, I had to put a jacket on and a backpack and sling a gun over me, and that was actually quite difficult. I actually had quite a hard day trying to get all of my things on and get the gun the right way up. It was a bit of a thing. Anyway, it was really fun.
But I've just now lived in this world for so long, and I am just
engaged all the time. The most challenging days for me actually are the days where I've not got very much to do.
There's a certain privilege that I feel and a certain appreciation of as an artist, as a writer, as a storyteller, whatever title you want to put on us, you just hope you find some audience.
Isabella and me, Dina and Ellie. And that was, day 0, and it was just...
Look how far games have come, that we could have this conversation. It's you could compare the two, and that the game can sit side by side with an HBO show.
good feeling.
Yeah.
I was gonna die before they offered me the part. They're like, don't worry, you're gonna die. And I was like, okay, I'll take it.
Craig gathering everyone up. Majority of them had already done the whole season of this show, so I was a little bit intimidated. He was like, season 2, let's go.
Based on very specific source material. And so that was always a part of the presentation of the idea. Go all in on season 1, shoot for 11 to 12 months in Alberta, and then it would take a totally different shape in the second season, and this is why.
And then we started filming, and then it was all a blur, but it happened really quickly, and we didn't reshoot the scene, so I think it went well.
If and when and if we get to do more together in future seasons, then we're gonna have a problem with laughing. No, I know. I think it's gonna be a Pedro situation, a Pedge situ, because hello.
Because I was so emotional for this journey we had together. It was just...
Bella told me about that. They said it was so touching that what you wrote.
I do think that
I genuinely can't wrap my head around this. Bella Ramsey, yes, that Bella Ramsey, the breakout star of The Last of Us, could be suing HBO Max. Why? Because execs behind the scenes allegedly decided to throw her under the bus for the sudden, catastrophic cancellation of Season 3. The moment that news hit, everything exploded. Fans are spiraling into meltdown mode. Hollywood insiders are ducking for cover, and HBO Max is now the epicenter of one of the messiest controversies prestige television has seen in years. And honestly, this might just be the final nail in the coffin for what used to be the crown jewel of game-to-screen adaptations. It's not just a lawsuit, it's a symbolic collapse. A show that started with soaring expectations now stands as a warning sign of what happens when arrogance, creative missteps, and miscasting collide. Let's talk about the elephant in the apocalypse, Bella Ramsey as Ellie. This isn't about being mean. This isn't about appearance or personal attacks. This is about fit, and Ramsey simply wasn't it. She might be charming in interviews, even thoughtful and funny in behind-the-scenes clips, but on screen, the disconnect between her and Ellie is jarring. Not everyone can step into an iconic role. Not everyone should. Ellie, especially the emotionally broken, deeply scarred Ellie of Part 2, isn't just a script to read. She's a weight to carry. She's every ounce of trauma, vengeance, fear, and loss you can imagine, all bottled in a girl barely holding herself together. Ramsey doesn't bring that weight. Her delivery fluctuates wildly, flat in some moments, exaggerated in others. Scenes that should have hit hard land awkwardly, like she's trying to act through a script she doesn't fully believe in. When she tries to intimidate, it's more awkward than unsettling. When she's supposed to be vulnerable, it feels emotionally vacant. And the side-by-side comparisons with Ashley Johnson's iconic performance only amplify the problem. Worse, Ramsey's lack of resemblance to Ellie didn't help. This isn't always a deal breaker. Great acting can overcome physical differences, but when the acting falters too, the spell breaks. The audience never fully suspends disbelief. They're always half aware something's off. The pacing in Season 2 is painful. What once felt tense, urgent, and cinematic now drags like a rusted out pickup through mud. In the game, players do things. They sneak, they fight, they explore, they feel the stakes with every movement. On TV, that sense of agency evaporates. What's left is passive watching, endless walking, talking, standing, staring, rinse, repeat. Entire episodes pass where almost nothing happens. Characters drift through empty streets making small talk and weak jokes while the plot grinds to a crawl. You're waiting for something to spark anything, and when it finally does, it's often undercut by weird tonal shifts or awkward character moments. It's a classic case of confusing atmosphere for story. Yes, atmosphere matters, but not at the cost of momentum. And when you pair that sluggish pacing with a world crawling with monsters, it makes everything feel off. This is supposed to be a survival horror drama, not a post-apocalyptic meditation retreat. The writing decisions in Season 2 often feel like a dare, a challenge to the audience to just try and take this seriously. Let's run through a few head scratchers. Ellie and Dina casually waltz through a wide open boulevard, a literal sniper's dream with no cover, no caution, just vibes. The WLF sets up shop in a hospital crawling with airborne fungal spores. Genius. Joel, who survived decades of post-pandemic chaos, refuses to tell strangers even basic info about his past. How convenient for the plot. Abby, in a supposed moment of character complexity, lets a clearly dangerous enemy go free. Anyone wanna bet they come back to bite her? Every one of these moments exists for one reason: to shove the story toward its next preloaded checkpoint. The game had these moments, sure, but games have a different logic. In a TV show, these same plot beats feel shallow, predictable, and contrived. And the dialogue? Oof, you could replace half of it with random video game barks and probably improve things. Let's talk about the messaging, because it's not just loud, it's deafening. The original game already nudged hard towards certain themes, but the show, it doesn't nudge, it shoves. Ellie is now a pint-sized superhero. She throws grown-in soldiers around like rag dolls. A visibly pregnant woman gets deployed into active combat like it's no big deal. That's not progressive, that's just absurd. In real survival scenarios, people protect those who can bear children. They don't send them into gunfights. Yet here, we're asked to believe that entire command chains are populated exclusively by gender-balanced squads, where every woman's a war general and every man's either corrupt or spineless. It's not the diversity that's the problem, it's the execution. It's the agenda-first writing. When the world no longer resembles our own in any way, not even in logic or behavior, immersion breaks. You stop believing, and worse, you stop caring. The creators behind The Last of Us clearly think they're making art. Every episode is filled with lingering shots of dust motes, brooding silences, and guitar plucks so slow you'd think time itself hit pause. But none of it lands if the story isn't there. Without real character arcs, tension, or stakes, all that beauty becomes noise. You're left with pretty nothingness. You can practically feel the show begging for an Emmy, but guess what? Audiences don't care about artistic framing when the emotional core of your story is gone. Pedro Pascal left, and the plot went with him. You know what Season 2 loves doing? Wasting your time. We meet fascinating characters. The forest hermits, the rogue medic, that one guy with a dog, and then they vanish. No payoff, no arc, just filler. It's like the writers are afraid to develop anyone beyond the main cast. And yet, ironically, the main cast barely changes. Ellie's arc is flat. Dina's development, non-existent. These side stories could have been gold. Instead, they're just runtime padding. The show looks stunning. Every frame could be a painting. But after a while, that becomes part of the problem. The more gorgeous the cinematography, the more obvious it is that nothing's happening. Rain-soaked alleyways, foggy forests, shimmering, rivers, all serving aimless hiking montages. There's no payoff, no build. It's like buying a sports car and never leaving the driveway. HBO reportedly spent $10 million per episode. That's blockbuster money. You know where it went? Spore particles and drone shots. Meanwhile, fight scenes are few and far between. The writing still feels like a first draft. Characters barely move locations. You begin to wonder how other shows do so much more with so much less. And honestly, they do it by caring more about substance than sheen. Remember the Season 2 trailer? This season will change everything. Our most ambitious story yet. Yeah. No. What we got was a slow-mo apocalypse romance with barely any real conflict until the tail end. Fans who came for grit, horror, and drama got bait and switched. And when that happens, backlash is inevitable. You don't just lose viewership. You lose trust. Instead of listening to fan concerns, the showrunners clapped back. They accused critics of bias, of not getting it, of being nostalgic crybabies. That alienated the fan base further. It poisoned the discourse. People who loved the game stopped engaging. Reviewers stopped reviewing. All that was left were trolls and diehards screaming into the void. The clickers used to be terrifying. Every encounter felt dangerous. But in Season 2, they're background props. Nobody's really in danger. Ellie's basically bulletproof. Dina can fall off buildings and be fine. Without risk, there's no tension. Without tension, there's no investment. And without that, you've got cosplay with better lighting. It's not too late, but it's close. If this show wants to survive, it needs a total creative reset. Bring in writers who respect pacing, stakes, and structure. Let the characters feel real pain. Let them make mistakes. Stop shielding them in plot armor. And maybe, just maybe, ties with the game narrative when it no longer serves the show. Adaptation doesn't mean duplication, it means translation. And right now, the translation is broken. What was once a passionate, thriving fan base is now a wasteland. Cosplayers are skipping conventions. Lore YouTubers have tapped out. Reddit is a war zone. And the saddest part, it didn't have to be this way. All the showrunners had to do was listen, but instead they blocked, dismissed, and doubled down. This show should be studied in film schools as a warning. Big money doesn't mean big payoff. Subverting expectations doesn't mean ignoring logic. And alienating your audience with ideological grandstanding only leads to one thing: collapse. Respect your source, respect your audience, or get buried by your own hype. A golden IP, a shattered fan base, a lead actor suing the studio. This isn't just bad TV. It's a full-blown industry meltdown, and unless someone brave enough takes the reins and steers it back to storytelling first, The Last of Us won't have a future. It'll be a relic of how fast greatness can rot.